Hey guys, what's up? This is Cyclonic here, back after a while finally with another design critiques video for the 2K community. I know I spent a solid month or so dealing with mixtapes and all that jazz that you guys might have been seeing, but today I finally wanted to get back to the design critiques, especially since there's been an uptick in the amount of 2K League projects I've seen being dropped. And so there's more of an opportunity there for me to do some like professional style critiques. So with that being said, I took some of these. They weren't necessarily submitted, but I just took them because I had waited so long to do this anyway. I just took some of these pieces from their Twitters. So please don't consider this like something where I'm just taking a crap on a bunch of work. It's more that if you think you're good now, I'd like to think I'm providing you a way to make yourself even better, in my opinion, with some objective criticisms where I can, and then, you know, sometimes I'll realize things are stylistic preference, but I'll try to make that as clear as possible. So with that being said, let's get started. This one is a stream schedule graphic for Magic Gaming done by, I believe, Dane. So I don't know why it's so low quality on my end. I might have just gotten a really small... Oh yeah, that's probably why. I don't know how I got the small version of this. But with that being said, the first thing that kind of pops out to me is how much information there is here. It makes it hard to kind of separate everything and organize everything. So this all being white text as well, it makes it hard to figure out what to concentrate on. The sizing of the text does help, but at the same time, I think there's ways to make this a lot less confusing. So first thing is, I would try and move these sponsors, since you have the on dark background versions of these, it looks like, put them over here maybe, on the picture. That might be a good idea. It's cluttering up a lot of space, and it's not allowing you to move these schedules down here. Now, the second thing I would note is that there's no reason to switch from white text to black text. It makes it, both of those colors can technically work on this background maybe, although I would prefer white like you have. But the thing is that if I see a certain text in one color, like the brighter color that captures my attention first, my eyes want to skip over this portion of the text and not actually read it, or just dismiss it as something different that's not worth my time at the moment. And then the other thing here is that the link that you want to send people to is so small. It's almost like in my brain I've already replaced it with just like a line that separates stuff and not actually read through this. So yeah, first thing is move these partners over here, and then move that text over there. Next thing is that you want a good way to differentiate, since you're choosing the same font and everything, a way to differentiate the actual times from the title of the graphic. So this is where those boxes come in handy. So you can put a box around each one, maybe a white box, and then put black text on top, or even the blue text. So just have a white box here and then make this text this color blue instead. That tends to work well, so then they'll know that, okay, these are different entities in the graphic. This portion right here is the title. This is clearly a list of boxes, and that will help things. And then finally, you'll have space down here, hopefully, to then make the Twitch link a little larger, or even better than a Twitch link. The image isn't hyperlinked, and I personally don't really go... I don't need to know the full link of it when I go to Twitch. I don't think people are really typing that into their computer. At this point, if you're familiar with Twitch, you're just going to go to the app and type it in or something, or click on the link on Twitter. So with that being said, I think it's a little bit easier if it's less text they have to read, and you just put the Twitch icon, because then it makes that automatic connection in their head that says, okay, it's a Twitch clearly, and it's that account. I'm going to go look at that. So I think with those changes in mind, the rest of this stuff around here I don't have an issue with. It's just this clutter really needs to be solved for it to be a better graphic in my mind. So I think that about summarizes my feedback on this graphic. I think maybe, now that I think about it, I don't know how much I like just the icon being up here. I think it might just be, I think it would almost be a better idea if you had like this and then Magic Gaming right here, Magic Gaming stream schedule, rather than just the primary logo just kind of looks awkward out here floating. I don't know what its real purpose is to be there. I think if you're going to put that there, you might as well have the team name so the words flow and say like Magic Gaming stream schedule, assuming they start reading from the top. Like when you go across these graphics, I'm assuming most people, just like we read a book, you start from the top left and you go to the bottom right as you keep looking at stuff. So that's something to keep in mind. A little bit of psychology there to kind of keep in mind to drive these graphics, I think, is important. It's something that I'm working on as well as I keep creating stuff for the league. So yeah, I think that's it there. Alright, what is this one? Oh yes, this one, I believe this was, my memory's kind of foggy because I didn't check up on this beforehand, but I believe this is by Bayer. This is one of the few that, I mean, this is the only one here that isn't a 2K League piece, but I did have some criticism on it. Mainly that, the player and the text being so in front of your face does help with the layering of this image, but there's not much lighting here, like not much effective lighting that's helping me like create depth anywhere here. It's just a lot of stuff thrown in your face. I like the coloring scheme. I'm assuming you use some sort of color balance to throw a little bit of blue or green in there. But I like the color balance. It's just the layering and the depth seems a little bit off to me. I think a little bit more lighting to maybe make the background darker and then put some like actual lighting out here in the foreground would have made things a little easier to kind of tell. But at the same time, this is a banner that I wouldn't mind rocking myself, you know. So I like the player in the text. Maybe I would have just chosen a different font though, because if I read this first, I can see, okay, L, okay, that looks like a Y, and then I see the X here, and I know, okay, this is links. This makes sense. This could easily be interpreted, though, as an H. So, picking the font that you're using, I think, is an important thing there. Okay, this stuff looks fairly fine, but yeah, they have less. Just the depth of the layering and the lighting, I think that composition could use a bit more tweaking here. Alright, next one. Okay, this one is by Jeev. So, it's a nice concept, and I haven't seen people necessarily do this kind of splashing behind the players like I think is familiar in the content. I haven't seen many people do it on the 2K League side of things, so it's a nice kind of new welcoming thing. Now, as nice as this new kind of concept is, there's a lot of areas where this banner could be improved, in my opinion. First thing that I notice is that this green over here on the background is not the same unsaturated, slightly bluer green that's on their jerseys, and I think this banner instantly becomes a lot better if this color is matched over here. So I think that's an important distinction to make, and then same thing for that text. Now, that's a nice segue into the next part of this. This text right here is barely readable. I understand not wanting to make it white text, but here, again, like I mentioned with Dane's piece, this is where a nice white box with the green text on top of it would work great. But my second problem with the text is that this is a very curvy sort of font here, and this is a very not so curvy, all straight edge font. So these automatically don't work well together for me. And then to make things even, so this is, you've curved this font, you've warped this font somehow, but these are all straight lines. So then even further, this main text doesn't fit in, and so it makes this very much slapped on kind of deal, and that throws off a lot of the header for me. I like the kind of lighting here around him. It's nice. This one's an awkward one because I don't know where. It just seems very awkward over here to have that, unless you have some lighting coming up maybe from here or from here. or even an outer glow on the text. Something to give this one a reason. These ones I can see having, you know, more of a reason to have flares on them. Now I'll come to the pictures. So first thing is that I guess I can tell this guy's in front and this guy's behind, but there needs to be more depth added here, especially the intersection. Next thing is that they're making the same. It's a very redundant set of pictures because Fab here is making the same, near the same expression in both of them. It's not like they've been facing different ways or anything. It's like it's just two of the same picture, and if all that did for you was just leave you less space to do anything over here with. You could have just used one Fab, moved this over a little, and made this a more centralized piece, but this lost you the opportunity to do that. Those are a few tips I have on this header that I think if you made those changes, this work automatically just goes up to that next level if you incorporate those changes. Everything else here looks fine. Maybe not so many pictures can get kind of distracting and you're not sure what the main focus is. So that could be something where you just use like 4 pictures, let's say, and make this a cleaner piece. So yeah, just to summarize, I guess, the text here, making these texts mesh, making the text in the background mesh, and then color choices to mesh as well. So yeah, but it's a good start though, and I can see a lot of potential. Just as I told you before, Jeev, make sure that you don't rule on a ton of pieces in the same exact style. I want to see some stuff vary, or it'll be very tough to make that next level jump. Alright, this one is made by Jack. So a couple things come to mind instantly for me. If I don't know much about the league, I have no clue who this person is, and to find the name of who they are, I'll one have to hope it's in the tweet, or 2, I'll have to look all the way over here for a sideways, small, thin text to figure out who this is. And especially with the league that's trying to grow, 2 major rules for any graphics. We're not at the stage where people know the team just by the logo. You have to use the global logo with the text. Second thing is that people don't know who these guys are. We've been in the league for 2 seasons, and it's 2 seasons so far, and you know, that's still not enough for anyone who's not firmly entrenched into the 2K community to know who these guys are off-site. So definitely make the name more apparent. The next big thing that caught my eye is that this red text is very different it's a darker red, different from the white text. And I get why you needed to do that if you want to rock with this light blue background. I get that. But again and again, you're going to see me emphasize this point. If you have a tricolor scheme like this, and you realize that the other color that you have left is going to be annoying to deal with on this front, then what you can do is here, we can just put a red box instead and have the stat text be white, or do it the other way around. It doesn't really matter. But switching the color of the, switching it like this, and on this background, the dark red and this blue don't mesh together very well. It doesn't make it easy to see, and you have enough space, I think, if you're going to keep them at this size, you might as well put everything in a row and make it cleaner. This sort of structure just seems random. Maybe this line I can see, okay, you pushed it to the logo size. I might have made it to the overall text size. Another cool thing you can try to do is you could make this a 3-layer text and say player of the month, and kind of emphasize portions of this. Not that this is bad, this is fine, but I would just think of that as another way to make the graphic pop, to really emphasize certain things. But those are the major objective criticisms I have. Make sure we know who this is without having to go hunt for it. Make sure that the stats pop off the page and are easy. And then play around a bit with everything else. I know that's a very vague statement, but you want these player of the month graphics and stuff to kind of catch people's minds. It's not like an everyday graphic that, you know, you can't hope to catch people's attention with every day. So, oh yeah, and then this here, the same, the red on the, if it's not a thicker entity, the thin red on this dark blue, I don't, personally for me, it just seems kind of ugly. So I would just remove, I don't know if this white thing is just because of my computer, but remove this white line and just have this be the white line. I think you're in a much better spot. So yeah, I think that's what I have for that piece. Alright, and then this one was made like a little bit over a week ago, I think, made by Dez. So first thing that I'm going to comment on is this section over here. So the entire point of this graphic is to emphasize that this guy right here, JBM, is the #1 pick. But you have your number sign hidden behind, I believe, I don't know which, I think this is Ted Leonsis, but you have the number sign hidden between here. You have the pick text in a very thin outline, and in the first round it text in a red that doesn't match and is darker. I think the hues are the same, it's just darker. And that already throws my eyes off of it because it's not emphasizing what it needs to, and it just seems like it's there, but it's clashing. And then the next thing is that you just have the 2020 white for some reason, so everyone's eyes are going to be drawn to the 2020. Which ideally you want to be drawn to the #1 pick instead. And you might not even need the first round text at that point. Next thing is that we specifically have a version of the logo that that works well on dark backgrounds with like a white outline stuff and white text. Highly recommend using that, and you can find a way to hunt it down. I know the league hasn't been the best about putting all the assets out, but that's something I believe you can find. So this section could really be revamped to get the emphasis. Move the #1 pick up here, or flip it around and realize that, okay, we have JBM on this side, but we have the #1 pick over here. If I didn't know anything, I could say that this guy was the #1 pick. It's right next to him, right? So if you move this around here, move the Wizards logo over here because the Wizards are technically represented by Ted. That makes a lot more sense to me automatically to have the #1 pick over here because it associates with the guy right next to it, and then this guy right here is backed by the Wizards logo, which makes sense that way. So I would definitely there's a lot of organizational compositional stuff that you could fix here that would make this graphic a lot better. But this part right here throws me off completely. It's an unsaturated flat smoke that doesn't mesh well with the brighter stuff right here, and there's very little white in terms of these assets over here, so it makes it's a lot of like really saturated red, and then unsaturated red, and then darker red, and then some blue thrown in and stuff. And the worst part about having this, or not the worst part, but I should say a bad part about having both of these texts just red and blue alternating, is that I don't know what to focus on. I see this whole thing first, and then my brain has to work further through and figure out what each of these things are. That's why it's important to, I think, have the 2K League logo maybe somewhere up at the top and white, and then figure out what you want to do with this. But make sure it's easy for your brain to categorize and like separate certain things and know what to emphasize, because people don't want to be spending a lot of time looking at these graphics. You know, you're scrolling through your feed, you'll see some graphics, and you want stuff to, like, you know, pick out your attention and communicate with you effectively. But back to the smoke here. I don't see the need for it. I don't. It kind of clashes with the whole clean aspect you have going here. If you remove this entirely, I think you have a much better graphic already. And then the pattern in the background, you don't need, you could go either way. I don't necessarily see the need to have this large of a logo here when you already have it here. If you made it like a smaller pattern, I could see that working. That's something I do myself. But having it this large just makes it feel redundant, and on my screen it's fairly pitch black. So there's a lot of stuff you could have done here to make this graphic not as hodgepodgey, I would say. So I know I took quite a chunk out of this graphic to give feedback on, but like I said, think of it as the amount of potential this graphic now has to grow, because all of this graphic stuff is very much progression based. I mean, I'm better now than I was. I'm hopefully better now than I was a month ago, better now than a year ago, and it's all a matter of progression. You're not defined by this piece right here, you know. So in that sense, it's never fun to be told for someone else to tell you they don't like your work necessarily, or don't think this piece was good. But at the same time, you're judged. You can also be judged by your best pieces if you're consistent. So see it as an opportunity. I've started seeing it as an opportunity for myself to kind of improve, and that's why I've started following a lot of creatives in different spaces whose work blows mine away. And it's like, oh, okay, that's something I can do. That's another thing I can integrate into my work. So yeah, just a few quick philosophical pointers off the dome. But with that being said, I'm gonna hopefully turn this back into a weekly series. Let's hope I don't get overflowed by the league. So just find a way to hit me up on Twitter if you want to get your piece into the next one. I'm gonna try to start narrowing my selections so that I'm picking pieces that I really think I can give solid feedback to. So with that being said, I appreciate everyone tuning into this video. Like, subscribe if you like what you're seeing, and with that, I will catch you all later. Peace.